and
So they
Smoke
are.
are also doing the same on hards. If you get up the tyre indicator as we're now starting the
Yeah.
race. I guess quick race predictions before the lights come out, and for the guys, we'll read how wrong they are, see how many people jinx people on lap one. But over to you, Owen, for the start.
Here we go then. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it is lights out and away we go. Ham gets a decent start, but it looks like Hupalicious was slightly better off, and he's actually taken the lead on Ham. Freeman gets a really good start as well. He goes up to P3, maybe even P2 coming into turn 1. This is almost 3 wide, but it's not quite. Ham takes the lead from Freeman and Ham going side by side. Who will get the better of them going through as Jam goes down to P4. Freeman takes P2 off of Ham, and potentially could Jam be making a move on his brother? No, he's not, so it stays there. Big lock up there, I think, from Freeman. And it looks like Ham doesn't make the position, and Jam goes down the inside of his teammate, his brother. Sorry, they almost tag wheels actually there, but it seems that they stick in the same positions. Looking down the rest of the grid, doesn't look like too much bad stuff from Crispy, I believe. Looking for he might have had a bit of a problem there. As we go, Hupalicious from Freeman, from Ham to Americans from the grid, and the man on pole down to P3 off the start.
Yep. Crispy, I had a look. I think he got out of shape after the first chicane and lost a whole host of positions, and is now being passed by his teammate and is down in P14 is Crispy. So I don't know whether he's picked up damage, the AlphaTauri driver. But yeah, what an absolute brilliant launch by Freeman. He's usually one who's not too best off the start, not too good off the start, but he's absolutely got his revs, everything mojo together, and has absolutely blitzed it down to turn 1, making up a couple of positions. Currently running in P2, although my timing screen tells me otherwise. Cheers, game.
Yeah, likewise.
And another person who's made a good start is SLR Southerner. I think he's all the way up into P12, I believe. I'm not 100%.
Wow, that's a great start.
Not 100%, but I saw him make a move on Crispy, and then... And yeah, I mean, Crispy started 9th, Southerner started all the way down in... I believe it was 16th, I think he was.
Yeah, it looks like it's sorted itself out now.
And yes, yeah, he's up in P12.
Yeah, Southerner's in P12. A very good start for him. Looking up the rest of the grid, why have I got... Oh, it looks like they're looking almost different. What am I on about? It's been a pretty hectic start, but I'm not seeing any moves just yet. The timing is some reason really bad.
It should reset itself hopefully at the end of this lap. Should hopefully reset itself at the end of this lap. It does it sometimes.
So it will. Okay. So Hoop will continue in the lead. As he led the first lap, he will lead the end of the second lap as we go on to lap 3. Of course, DRS being enabled now. Hoopalicious setting the fastest lap so far. So a very decent first full lap in the lead for him. As I said, DRS is enabled, and as we can see, some of the bigger, closer gaps. So looking down the rest of the field, there seems to be a little bit of a train forming. Bit of a gap, as it looks like Kevin and Bezos are fighting. Looks like Kevin has got the best of him there, followed by Southerner and Midzi just behind. The two AlphaTauris actually just behind, so Crispy's made up the position back on Mercs. I saw him lose it not too long ago. It's all, but yeah, it was a great start, but since then it's kind of played a bit back, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore. This is decent little start that.
Yep. One thing that's kind of notable is Race Roller was becoming to be a bit disjointed from the top 4, but has managed to stay within the DRS. So that does mean that practically the entire field, I believe, is in a DRS train. So as I said, the DRS working very, very powerfully, and the likes of Race Roller and Rando and alike are managing to stay with these top guys, as Rando does make a bit of a mistake.
We can see a move here.
Oh,
here come Freeman with the fastest lap of the race so far. In fact, Race Roller will get it better, and he tries to get a little bit more of the toe. Hoopless just pulls out from the inside, and Freeman will take the lead of the race round the outside of his American, I guess you say fellow American, and that is McLaren into the lead for the first time since yesterday. Oh, not yesterday, Friday, I should say. As
who won that?
With yourself. Anyway, yeah, good move from Freeman there. Comfortable. Hoop did didn't the good thing, of course, battled it a little bit, but was comfortable in the end for Freeman as he takes the lead of the race.
Yep, he's pushing very hard from now on as well. Like Hoopalicious, I don't know whether he made a couple of mistakes or whether Freeman is just absolutely flying at the moment, but Freeman is looking as best he can to try and pull away a bit from Hoop, but Hoop's come back at him in the final sector.
DRS, sorry.
But looking at the ERS situation, they're all reasonably comfortable on that front. So, as I think Rando is really the odd one out of all of the drivers. Really, is the only driver who has less than 50% ERS. So, has been a bit overzealous on his debut, trying to stay with the guys on the train. As Freeman 118.1, that is a cracking lap on the medium combat tyres.
Freeman maintains the lead into turn 1. Is there any perhaps positions changing elsewhere? It looks pretty similar, and everyone's kind of staying in this train. It has become a little bit disjointed though, as Beast has just about dropped outside of the second to Zydrad. I'm sure he'll be trying to push and get back in as he drops just below 50% ERS. In fact, as I say, that he breaks and goes over 50%. Other than that, it looks quite closely contended at the back of the field. Of course, Nicky, the first man with a penalty. I guess we could have a look at some position changes if I can find them. It's not that one though, that's white. It's that one. And as you can see there, Freeman the best mover off the start. 3 positions he's gained. And likewise, Kevin and Southerner with 4 positions each down the rest of the field. So Freeman looks to be under a little bit of pressure from Hoopalicious, just a little bit, but I'm sure we'll see how he does through here. It looks like a slightly bit of time getting gained by Hoops, so potentially we could see a move then.
Hoops,
as we see, he uses a little bit of ERS, but not for mass amount. He's gaining. Will he try and make it? He goes up the inside. Under braking. Looks like he's going to make it stick. Back. Freeman tries to keep it round the outside though. And it looks like Freeman's kept it. Amazing defending from ABR Freeman. And Hoop does not make the move. Is unsuccessful in his pursuit as Ham and Jam and Roller stick behind with Rando not too far behind them either.
Yeah, indeed. And Wolf, that was... As there's yellow flag here, I think that's Flembog has just spun it.
Flembog spun. Yeah, that looks like on the exit of maybe even turn 4, maybe turn 5, I'm not sure. It looked like it was around there where it was. And his Smoke, I think, has got a problem as well because he's going slowly near the back, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, I think it's just the game's throwing up yellow flags willy-nilly now. So that's great to see. Another glitch for us to contend with tonight.
Yep, I mean... Hopefully that doesn't impact
I've been
the
told
racing
apparently to keep an eye on Flembog just for his connection, if that's okay.
Okie dokie. I also saw apparently you need to keep an eye on Nicky's connection.
Great. Yeah, it looks like that there's just this constant yellow flag going on our screen. It won't be for them, I don't think. But it looks like it's the same thing. It'll continuously happen pretty much for the rest of this race now. It might stop eventually, we'll see. But it looks like it's pretty standard with positions. Beast has dropped off quite a bit to Zydrad now, so it's going to be apparent that the top 7 will separate from the rest of the field, it seems. In a nice big train, a little bit of a gap from Roller to Rando, but not a massive amount. So Race Roller really sticking with the likes of Jam, Ham, and the 2 Americans. The 2 Nobles and the 2 Americans. I like that at the top there. Yeah, I mean, that yellow flag is really getting on my nerves. It's only just happened. Looking down again, looks like there's a little bit of a gap from Bezzers to Southerner. Not a massive one, but Southerner on the brink of potential points here. That's quite big for him. And we could potentially see something. It's Flembog pitted, so I assume he picks up a bit of damage. And he'll probably try and make those hards last to the end. It'll be a bit of a stretch, but it might just be doable if need be. Perhaps if there's a couple of safety cars, it might help him out even more. It continues to go. Freeman, Hoop, Ham and Jam. Looks like Freeman got the better run as well outside of the final corner. So it looks like I would expect he'll probably keep that position. Little touch of the ERS as well.
Yep.
I'm surprised if we're in for a bit of a slug
Hoop nowhere near as close as he was, of course, a couple of laps back. As Kevin actually is someone who is close to the car.
Yeah.
He was fighting, gets past Beast, moves himself up into P8, one position behind his teammate. Great start by Kevin, up 6 positions in the first 8 laps.
Oh, Beast went a bit wide there.
As Connor has said that hards aren't looking like a good starting tyre as well, noticeably
Yeah, it does look it, to be fair.
However, Midzi seems to be making them work reasonably well, as he's currently running in P12 behind SLR Southerner, and reasonably close to the likes of Beast Bezzers and Kevin. So, with of course,
yeah, I would say maybe they might just be within a second. I'm not quite sure. It'll be tight. I think he might just be outside by the looks of the fact. I don't think Southerner has quite got the ERS. We could potentially see a move from one of the Alpha Tauris very shortly. It's like Midsy's just kind of sticking to the back of Southerner and hoping that he doesn't make a mistake, and hopefully he can just save some tyres, save some ERS behind him, maybe save some fuel as well, so then really burn it when the medium runners come in. Of course, he'll be the lead hard runner, possibly even in the lead of the race when they pit. Yet again, that yellow flag doing my nutting already. That's great to see. Could we see a move from Midsy?
I think so.
Looking likely. Yeah, there we go. He's gone up the inside. Looks like he's going to make the move stick rather comfortably, get the move done before the corner. That's what we like to see. And through he goes up into P11. Now we'll see if he can try and catch up. Although it looks like Southerner has a decent exit there. Could he potentially stay? I think the dirty air has maybe faulted him a little bit there. We could potentially see a move from Crispy, but I don't think he'll be the case. So we go back up to this big train. Actually, I think Crispy was about to make a move then. Don't think so in the end. Again, that yellow flag in the sector just makes me think there could be a thing every time as Kevin is the next man to pick up a penalty.
Yep. I was having a look kind of just up and down the field really, and yeah, that is a very, very big move on Midzi. Southerner did look like he was becoming a bit disjointed from the likes of Bezzers and Beast. So I think now really is going to be the phase of the race where we see people like Midzi kind of come into it a bit. And also the start of the race where we maybe see people like Race Roller struggle a bit, given how old his tyres are relative to the others, but he's still managing to hold onto this leading train quite nicely, which is of course being led by ABR Freeman. Yeah, we're just kind of waiting until strategy kind of plays itself out. I don't think we're going to see the same.
Here comes Bezzers on Beast, sorry. Round the outside into turn 1. Looks like he's done it. Oh, there's a bit of a touch there. I think Beast just lost the back end though, coming through turn 2. I might be wrong, but it looks like Bezzers has made that move, and it's looked a very nice move. It must be said, round the outside of turn 1, and it really was round the outside as well. You can't get more round the outside than that. As in fact, Crispy's made a move on Southerner now as well. In fact, they're going side by side on the run down to turn 5. Oh, I think no, Southerner thought against it, and Crispy has overtaken him. You see the gaps are slightly become a little bit more widespread outside of the top 7 now. They're all kind of getting just about over the brink of a second now, and there's only a couple more elsewhere. Southerner being one of them, who is inside that second, of course, who's only just been overtaken.
I wonder whether we're going to start seeing any pit stops soon here, Owen, because this was kind of when the pit window opened in Division 1 on Friday. I think the first runner to pit would have, from the leading guys was Bennett. I think pit on about lap 10, I think it was, and no one, interestingly, from the top guys have dived into the pits, and no, they're electing to go out and kind of just waiting until each other's making a move. Something really interesting here, actually, is despite starting on pole, having a look at the gaps, Ham's really struggling on his ERS and is kind of struggling to keep the 2 Americans of Freeman and Hoop. Hoop has a lot of ERS and Freeman is kind of running a bit lower himself, so maybe Hoop's biding his time. Nosy's got the pace on Freeman and is just kind of waiting until a later point in the race to make his move, but they still look quite comfortable. As Rando's another one who's running quite low on his ERS, but he's trying to stay in the DRS of Race Roller, so expect this to maybe shift into 3 little mini trains or 3 little mini groups by the end of this race. I don't expect with the pit stop window these to remain as full trains for the entire race. As does anyone pit? Yes, Freeman is the first to pit as Ham, sorry, follows him. Now we shall
Yep, so
see.
Hoopalicious will take the lead of the race, and he will try and push to go the distance and perhaps try and get a overcut on Freeman then. It'll be tough, and it'll be interesting to see whereabouts they come on. Bezzers could potentially be making a move on Kevin here. No, he thought better against it. Midzi has overtaken Beast though, as I think Beast might have just been a bit knocked perhaps with that Bezzers incident. And he kind of fell into the clutches of the AlphaTauris, so potentially we could see a move from Crispy very shortly after his rather lackluster start, it must be said. And yeah, I mean, you can see the gaps kind of forming now as Hooper's evaded, of course, the DRS of Jam after the two pitted. As Southerner also pits, was the third and final of those two hits on that lap. And on lap 11, and yeah, Freeman just about on the end of Smoke, but 2.5 seconds away from him. So it'll be interesting to see just how quickly some guys catch up to it. Which you can see Flembog after his spin, quite a decently sized gap to Southerner. An interesting thing as well is the fact that Race Roller is now dropped without a second of Jam, who I do believe was actually the next car. As Jam pits, Hoops stayed out, which means Rando goes in as well, which means Hoop will continue in the lead of the race. In fact, he set the fastest lap of the race, and that is what you call trying to push for an overcut. He's done very well there, and he knows exactly what he's doing. I'd expect Pit maybe now, next lap, around there, for then about 19-20 laps on the hards. As you can see there, the medium runners still staying out, being Hoopalicious, Zydrad, and Bez. A lot of, it looks like a lot of drivers pitting that lap, perhaps just just come across from the others. I think Jam and Ham are very close on the exit.
Yep.
I may have missed.
It doesn't seem like the undercut was too powerful, as Ham and Jam were very close to each other when they came in for their stops, and are very, very close when they've come out. So, as Freeman is now approaching the likes of Smoke, Nicky, and Paraquix, so. Could Hoop perhaps extend this even further and hope that Freeman gets held up in a bit of traffic and maybe even completely jump him? I think it's going to be close when Hoop eventually. Does he pit this lap? He does.
He does pit. Will Zydrad follow him? Yes, and we'll see about Bezzers in a second. Does he pit as well? Yes, he does. So that's the remainder of the medium runners all in the pits now, which means Midzi will take the lead of the race. There we go.
As Freeman, he's just now caught up to Smoke. This is going to be crucial. He loses the back end a bit as well. I fear for Freeman a bit.
He's going to have the DRS, so could he see himself out ahead of Hoopalicious?
He did get the
fastest
fastest lap of the race.
Close. I think he's got it done.
Oh, only
as
just.
Hoop will come out actually perfectly in that gap between Freeman and Ham. It was quite a big gap actually. As I think Ham and Jam were potentially having a little bit of a battle going down the main straight. As Bezzers comes out just behind Kevin, which is roughly where he was before, and in fact Crispy has made a move on Beast as well. Looking down
Zydrad
the rest of it,
Rando.
Yeah, there you go. As I said, the overcut could be something there, and it almost was for Hoopalicious, but it seems like Freeman is a man on a mission at the minute. He's looking very quick and a potential contender for the win, but he is catching up to the guys that started on a hard. Of course, they will be slower because of that tyre difference on the wear, so we could see some moves out of nowhere from Freeman. That's what we've known him for over the last few seasons. Of course, the Season 3 Division 1 champion, one of the many champions that are actually taking part tonight. We've got a few from around the divisions past. As look up from Smoke there. As yeah, Freeman's like right on his bumper there. Oh, and so he has a bit of the back end as he goes over that curb, and I think there was a bit of a dirt. Was that from Freeman or Smoke? I'm not sure. But we'll ride on board with Freeman as he looks to overtake Smoke. And it looks like he'll get it done as
Smoke's not really fighting this.
Like Nicky and Parra pull over.
Is Hoop able to get past immediately as well? Hoop's putting his nose in as well.
Yeah, Hoop sends it up the inside as well, and he gets it. Yeah, he gets it done quite comfortably as well. Hoop did well there. Made sure that he isn't held up any more than he needs to be, and made it done. Yeah, made it work very quickly indeed.
Someone I just saw set the fastest lap of the race was Crispy. I mean, he qualified in P9, and of course that is a disastrous start, and he's all the way down in 15th, but as I said, set the fastest lap of the race on his hard compound tyres, so clearly does have a lot of pace, but is
Yeah, he's
very
got a bit
much
of a
out of
gap
track
at the minute, isn't
position
he?
though, so can cost him a bit. Yep, Freeman now closing up on Nicky and Para. Nicky can do a bit of a job for his teammate here as Ham is caught up to the train that is led by Para. And someone that could be benefited is someone like Race Roller as well, as they're all going to be in this train here and they're all forced to go at the same speed. Oh, Freeman loses
Freeman!
it.
Freeman's lost the back end. Very big indeed.
And he's lost the lead.
As,
He's lost the effective lead to Hoop, and has he lost the place to Ham? He has.
Yeah,
Jam's
and possibly
got through.
Jam as well. Yeah, he's gone down to P4. I guess a net P4, I guess you could say, as Ham also makes the move on Smoke. So that means Freeman's going to have to go past, try and have to go past Smoke again. But that means Hoop takes the technical race lead, but that's a very big mistake there from Freeman, and potentially a race costing mistake as well. We'll have to wait and see how that goes, as we've still got a lot left of the race.
Freeman's
So
on the inside of
plenty
Jam
time
though.
for Freeman to make that back up.
Bit frustrated. I can see Freeman. He's trying to get past Jam, and what this allows is Race Roller has now closed back up into the DRS. He doesn't have much ERS, but the train, I did question about whether it would stay after the stops, and it looks like it has. So, as someone I'm sure who will not make this easy for Hoop, knowing that Ham is right behind him, will be SLR Nicky. Can he maybe do a little bit of a job for his teammate here? As someone who will be absolutely loving the idea of these guys being in a train mid 15. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you can see, he's pulling out time to Mercs as well, because he started on those hards, and he'll be trying to pull them as quick as possible, really, and hope that Power and Nicky can hold up these leaders as much as possible. As it looks like Ham could potentially be going on a move, not quite, but Nicky and Para are going to be fighting here. Para takes a good line, a good defensive line, but Nicky's potentially going to look at it up the inside. This calls for P3 at the minute, not an effective one, but here comes Hoop. Could Hoop potentially do something about it? No, he won't. He'll stay as he is. As Jam has also passed Smoke now. Freeman has got Race Roller right behind him now as well.
Yep. It's kind of going from bad to worse, really, for Freeman. He's gone from being the lead of this train to being able to see Hoopalicious, but being quite
Nicky's
far
got another
down.
penalty.
By being quite far down, and in the clutches of potentially Race Roller and even his ex-teammate Zydrad. Hoop, though, doesn't really seem too fussed about
He looked at it.
getting past Nicky and Para too quickly. He's not taking too many risks here as the American driver. Just kind of wants to bide his time a bit, and yeah, as I said, doesn't want to completely throw his race away. But he
Nicky
might
lost
be
the
able to
back
get
end
past
there
Nicky
out of 15, and it almost cost Hoop some wing damage, as it looks like he'll make the move. He's tried to give Ham a bit of ERS, like a slipstream attendance, so could potentially we see Ham try and make a move on Hoop. I don't think he will, so he'll stay there as Nicky gets out of the way of a lot of them there, and goes down to P7. He loses 3 positions in the space of one straight due to that. But look at Ham's ERS, it's really drained. As you can see, Hoop's got much better, and Para is going to be struggling as well come downstairs, so it'll be interesting to see if the guys up the front can try and navigate him. Freeman's made it past Smoke now as well, looks like into turn 5. And he'll be trying to make a move on Nicky very shortly, see if he can try and catch up to the likes of Ham, Jam and Hoop. We could potentially see a move from Hoop very shortly as well. I don't know if it'll be here. Yeah, he is. He's going to send it down the inside at the hairpin. Very big lunge. He forces Para off of the track. And they continue going side by side, and Para actually takes it still.
Oh, that was quite a rough rejoin from Para, I have to be honest. Cuts right in front of Hoop, and yeah, means that he's going to have to get past in the main straight. But as Para...
Oh, and look at that. He's cut the pit exit as well. Even better. That could be a potential penalty coming his way. It seems a late call from Hoop, but it's not for us to discuss the student decisions. That'll be made for themselves. As Race Roller and Smoke are battling going into turn 1. Looks like Race Roller going to try and send it around the outside. Not quite, so he goes around the outside for the second part of the turn, and he does. Will Zydrad potentially look for a move up the inside of Smoke too? Smoke's gone a bit off track, but Zydra's going to try and make it work into turn 4, which he does. And up the inside, that is for Zydrad, so P9 from him.
Yep. Will Rando maybe make a move on Smoke now? No, he's not. Not quite close enough, as Freeman is still stuck behind Nicky now. As this is a very, very key race point of the race here from Hoop. He doesn't have too much more ERS than Ham, but if he wants to keep that advantage, he has to make sure that he can clear the DRS. I don't think it's too likely. It's about 8
I must say as well, with Paraquix pitting, of course he would have given Hoop the ERS advantage. Not just that, Midzi pits now as well, but it must be that it set Hoop away, so it was clearly a trigger for the likes of Mercs and Midzi to both pit. It looks like Nicky has also pit now as well, as Rando picks up a penalty, which could be very costly, because I believe he's one of the highest drivers up with a penalty now.
Oh, I think
fact, I think he is
making
now as he overtakes.
Oh no, that's Rando making a move on Smoke. As Smoke's teammate Bezos is now behind him on the much fresher tyres, so I'm expecting Smoke to get swiftly out of the way of the other Racing Point driver. Bezos could be on for gain of position here. As Midzi, he's only, what is that, 5 seconds off Bezos, and then Bezos is kind of already in a train all the way up to Freeman, who's of course going to be looking to maybe close up to Hoop, Jam and Ham. But Midzi could still find his way up a few positions here, I think. Yeah,
especially on those fresher, quicker tyres, as it's supposed to be for the mediums. There'll be slightly nicer tyres to race on. You would expect that he would catch up to the likes of Kevin reasonably quickly, but we shall see. Of course, they'll be a bit cold to start off with. Notable thing as well, Freeman is now still outside of DRS of Jam, as well as the fact that Ham is on just teetering on the edge of DRS from Hoop, but Freeman has improved the gap very quickly. In fact, it looks like he had a bad run through the chicane there, and it could potentially see a move from Race Roller, who is going to do it with his DRS. I don't think he's going to push too much. He sticks on the back of him and gets it, as Smoke has let Bezos through, and Bezos is up to P8.
Hoop has now that magical 1 second barrier that Hoop was trying so hard to get with his ERS. He has now officially got on hand, so you kind of expect Hoop to be able to control the gap a bit now, and really Jam is also looking in a much better position than his brother, with a bit more ERS. But Freeman, despite showing really good pace at the beginning of the race to be able to get past Hoop, since he's dropped off a bit, he's not closed down these guys that like I might have thought he might have been able to, but pace difference is so similar here in Elite that really 10th here or there.
One big train so far, it must be said. As one notable thing as well is that both Midzi and Kevin are increasing very quickly. That gap is just coming down quicker and quicker to Smoke. I wonder if he'll potentially go for a pit stop reasonably shortly, or he might even try and hold it out for the softs depending on how his tyre goes. Race Roller looked like he could have potentially made a move on Freeman there, who's really slowing down. After it looked like he was catching up, he's now backing off to from Jam, and it looks like Roller could be potentially making a move for P4 in a minute.
Of course he's running on absolute fumes, but so is Freeman, so it's going to be one of those things where Roller has to probably hope for a mistake from Freeman. As looking at this, Jam is putting a lot of pressure. There. Jam is putting a lot of pressure on Ham.
Of course, the only one really in that train from first to eighth that has a penalty is Rando, who's I guess you could say it's the train, but I must say Hoop is doing a tremendous job now. He's really pulling away. After Freeman's mistake, it really has set away Hoop, and he's just going with it, especially after Para pitted as well. As we said earlier, Ham was struggling to catch up with him, and it seems to be the case again now, especially as Hoop's tyres are 2 laps younger, as we would expect. A bit of curb there for Ham. Could we potentially see a move from Jam here? We'll have to wait and see. It looks like, I think the ERS is slightly better for Jam, as he will use a little bit. Looks like he's going to try it. Yeah, he's going to go up the inside of his brother into turn 1, and it looks reasonably comfortable. Ham's going to try a switchback, doesn't work, and Jam takes P2, and he'll try and take the fight to Hoop, who is now over 2 seconds up the road.
Ooh,
This will potentially bring the gap down to Freeman. So we'll see if perhaps it can make this train a bit longer and more of a battle for P1. I mean P2 rather than P1, I should say.
Something quite surprising there, actually, that happened on the same lap as that, same corner, in fact. Zydrad got past Race Roller, so
Oh, so he did.
Race Roller turned attack into defense, and I guess Race Roller might have been looking at Freeman quite a bit, but then actually his attentions had to divert to the car behind him, and Zydrad managed to sneak through up into P5 as Midsy's made a move on Smoke.
And here we go. I have noticed as well. I mean, the gap has stayed reasonably similar from Hoop to Jam, but Freeman is now back within a second, and not just that, but everyone else is as well. So the gaps are all a second from all the way down from, as I say that, I think Roller had a bit of a dodgy exit out of the final corner, and it could potentially see Rando perhaps make a move. I don't think he will yet though, but it does mean that Zydrad is going to be on the back of his ex-teammate from last season, of course, to win the Elite Constructors together with Haas. But we could potentially see a couple of interesting things happen here in the last 10 laps.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to speak at the minute now. I should have taken that water that I was thinking about earlier. Oh well.
It is going to be really interesting last few laps because, Freeman, he's gathered himself a bit and has found the pace a bit to be able to close in a bit on Ham and Jam. Could be quite an interesting fight for the podium, I think, in the last few laps. And Midzy is perhaps looking at Rando's 7th position as maybe a feasible target as Flembog picks up a penalty.
Definitely. I would expect he'll take it maybe one by one and think, where can I get to from here? I mean, first, the main goal will be to get past Kevin, who's kind of a bit of a rolling block at the minute, as the gap between him and Bezos is falling down. So Midzy needs to get past quick, and I reckon he probably will try go for a move into turn 1, depending on whether he has a good run through the final chicane, which it looks like he does. He looks like he had a really good run early on the overtake, going through the gears, DRS assisted, and it looks like he will be going for the move as Smoke pits. I wonder if he potentially might try it on the softs here. It'll be interesting to see if Smoke does, as Midzy makes the move up into P9 very simply, nice and easy, past Kevin. Now a 4-second gap to Bezos. Let's see if he can try and improve that towards the end of it. And yes, Smoke comes out last, but he's on the softs, so that'll be very interesting to see how he gets on, as that gap to Who is still staying very similar, with the likes of Freeman catching up to Ham and Jam, as well as Zydrad, Race Roller, Rando, Bezos, and Midzy possibly on the way. So it's going to be very exciting, I think, at the end of this race. Last 8 laps or so.
Rando at the moment is, he's really struggling to hang on to the back of Race Roller on the DRS. And with that penalty, of course, will, as it stands, lose the position to Bezos. Maybe even Midzy as well, as Midzy is closing up on him. But yeah, Midzy will perhaps join this train at the end of the race. I don't know whether he'll be able to make any moves on it, because DRS strain. But his new tyres have certainly got him up into a good position, though, as well, looking at the position gains. Yeah, I mean, he's gained kind of roughly similar positions to Bezos, so at the moment, the two strategies of the medium-hard and the hard-medium, neither here nor there in terms of pace. But yeah, as nothing much is really happening at the moment. They're kind of just sticking in their DRS train.
Of a stalemate. It's a fact. I think there could be a move here. Oh, not quite. It looked like potentially a move from Flembog on Beast for P12. But he decided against it. He's gotten very old hards, so his hards will be losing life very shortly. Will Flembog, and he has Mercs on those mediums not long behind him either. Both of the two that we're watching now, with penalties, of course, with Mercs not. A lot of penalties kind of towards the back end of the field. Mercs the sole one sort of outside of the top 11 without one. Could still see potentially big points for Midzi, as we've been saying, as the gap has come down very much leaps and bounds. As in fact, it's almost been a second over the last lap. In fact, it probably will be as we come across the line. It'll be pretty much a second. We'll see how much it takes down. Of course, with the DRS that Bezos is getting, it does mean he increases a little bit down the straight. As so it won't be quite a second, but it will be close enough to about I would say about 8/10 he gained on that lap roughly. So that's still a lot, and we could potentially see him join the back end of this train towards the end. As could we see a move from Merckx here? He's right on the back of Flembog. He's very close behind him. Is he close enough to make a move? No, he's not going to think about it. He might think about it into turn 5, where you can make moves, as we did see from, I think, Hoop tried one earlier, but he decides against it again.
Merckx, of course, another one on those fresh medium tyres, hoping to get himself up into maybe potentially a P12, or subject to penalties, could even become higher than that, or of course subject to incidents. As Midzi's closed by a little bit less that lap than the last lap. As of course, Bezos is going to be driving at the pace of the head of this train, so it's going to be very, very difficult for Midzi to close that gap. I don't think it's quite going to be enough, but Midzi.
One thing that is quite notable is that Jam's ERS is on an all-time low right now. He's on 10%. If that, in fact, he does break it as I said, normally as he breaks. But Hoop's on quite low as well, actually. So as he's trying to push to kind of make sure that gap is maintained, but it could come down very quickly if one of them starts losing. Ham's got a bit more, and Freeman a little bit more as well. Is it kind of almost like it's increased a little bit more all the way up until Race Roller, who's got quite little left in the tank. However, he is right on the back, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how some of them do in terms of the fuel situation as well, as we will find out towards the end of the race. Potentially could be, I don't know if a couple of people maybe overfueled their car a little bit, maybe underfueled their cars, and might have to do some fuel management towards the end. Of course, no safety car yet, and unless there's going to be one now, I don't think we'll get one. So only a few people, there's only about 4 or 5 people predicted that there wouldn't be one, myself included, so that's at least something that I can take away from tonight. Is in fact that gap has come down quite a fair bit actually to Hoop in the last lap, about 4/10 I think.
Yeah, I think most of that was in the final sector. Not sure if Hoop made a little mistake, but
potentially.
But the gap is still reasonably comfortable. I don't know whether Hoop's maybe close to a penalty, so it's taking it quite easily.
Yeah, that could be the case. Looking on again, Midzi, that gap is he probably wants to be looking at trying to improve that gap a little bit quicker than he is at the minute. If he wants to stick at the end, I mean, he should get Rando's position from about now, a couple more tenths, and he'll be within 3 seconds of Rando, so he'll be taking P8. As Bezos, of course, will take P7. But of course, it's all down to how it goes, as Zydrad has dropped out of a second now from Freeman. So could we potentially see the forming of a mini train now for the from 2nd through 4th, and then potentially from 5th down to 8th, almost at 6th, but it was 8th.
I think one thing that that's going to help Midzi quite a lot. I think Zydra dropping out of that train, because it's clear that
looks like it's been a spin up.
That's smoke.
I think SLR smoke.
But yeah,
smoke
Zydrad
spun at the dodgy chicane.
Zydrad, of course, not quite got as much pace as Jam, it looks like, on race pace, so that's going to be good for Midzi to want to maybe get up to potentially overtake Rando and finish in P8 after his penalty. But yeah, of course, also helps Race Roller, as even though Zydrad's got a bit more ERS, Race Roller is hounding the back of him a bit. Was thinking about a move into turn 1 that lap. As Flembog is pitting, I don't know whether Flembog's another one, like Smoke and Nicky, who have gone for fastest laps. Does Nicky get the fastest lap in the all-time lap record? I don't know whether that was...
Yeah, I believe the fastest lap we've had so far was, I think, a 16.1.
But JH
set in
JH did have one, yep.
Because I got close to it, but I think I was still about 2 or 3 tenths off with my lap yesterday. But yeah, just kind of looking down the field, there's not really too much to bargain for. Yeah, I mean,
I guess actually,
could that potentially be a move here?
Ham's
Freeman
lost
on
his
Ham.
yeah Ham's lost a bit out of touch a bit with his brother, so
yeah, it looks
maybe
like Freeman could be making
something.
a move. He's getting that slipstream. No, he's not. He's going to stick behind him. I thought he was potentially going to go for it. I think his ERS is a bit. In fact, his ERS is the highest out of the top three. So top four, sorry. So potentially for Freeman, he might be thinking about a move to potentially get onto the podium come the end of the race. It's his quickest first sector of all, apparently, according to what is said in the top right there. As you can see, he's almost pushing Ham through turn 5. So he's really feeling this podium. He wants it, as Zydrad has really dropped off now. So perhaps those tyres he's struggling a little bit on the tyres or something like that. But as we're getting towards the end of the race, we might as well chuck in a couple driver of the day predictions. Who do you think will be getting driver of the day? Chuck it in the comments section in the stream chat. I'll see if I can find perhaps a little bit of thingy. I can't even remember where it is. It's this one, isn't it? There we go. I'm still rusty. I haven't commentated in a while. As you can see, not too many like high movers. Kevin's the highest mover of all. Zydrad's done well, up 3 places. Same with Bezos and Midzi. Paraquix as well is up 3. As could we potentially see a move from Freeman? No, he's backed off quite a bit actually on that lap, so perhaps not.
But Ham doesn't have DRS, and interestingly, Jam he's pushing very, very hard here. He's trying to see if he can get into the DRS of Hoopalicious.
He's close. That gap has come down quite a lot, it must be said. And as I say that, he's actually pulled out a little bit as Hoop. So Hoop's looking comfortable, but he can't just sit back and relax because Jam is there just outside. Same with Ham on Jam as well. It's getting close. Only 2 laps left of this race. In fact, 1.5 now, I guess you could say. As they come to the end of Sector 2. As there's been a yellow flag in, Rando's out. Rando's out. He's spun.
Oh, that's an absolute disaster.
At the end of turn 8. Sorry, it looks like. Let me see if I can ride on board with Beast to see it. I don't see it, but it looks like it was on the exit. He tried to counter it, perhaps, and it's put him out of the race. So from what looked like a really comfortable debut and looked like to be a debut to remember for SLR Rando, it's suddenly turned into a race to forget.
Yeah, I mean, two laps to go, he would have been on for points, but pushed too hard and hit the wall and is out. He's in the chat. Seb, you're a bottle job. That's all I have to say. But yeah, as Dorsey said, driver day, Zydrad. Definitely a reasonable shout, as Midzi's got quite close to Bezos, although it is a final lap.
It is indeed. Of course, that penalty does not come into play now, and it's kind of net positions for the top 8. There's no penalties between them, so it could be the case that perhaps if somebody gets a last-minute penalty, that could be absolutely race-ruining, as it is not the case so far. Hoopalicious still in the lead of the race. Is he going to keep it towards the end of it? But there is a long train still behind him. People potentially thinking, just trying to find an opportunity to get a move. But it looks like it's going to stick as it is unless there's any late slip-ups. As we potentially could see. But Hoop, who has controlled the race really since the pit stops. I think it was just after the pit stops when Freeman made his slight mistake. Since then, Hoop's really controlled the race as he comes through the final corner. Really good race from Hoop, and he wins the Spanish Grand Prix of Season 6. Jam comes home in second, Ham in third, Freeman in fourth, Zydrad takes P5, Roller in sixth, Bezos in seventh, Midzi P5, solid recovery from him. Crispy will jump above Kevin to take P9. Merckx will be the next man to cross the line, just outside of the points, with Beast just a bit behind him as well. In P12, we've got Para, who now crossed the line as well. And decent race from him. He'll probably be happy with P13, even though it's not quite in the points. Then it goes Southerner just behind him. In fact, they have a little collision. And then it will be the race for the fastest lap. I believe it's owned by Flembog at the minute, and Flembog will take P15. But could potentially we see a fast lap from either Nicky or Smoke as we come round the final corner with Nicky. He will take P16, which then leaves Smoke, who's 3/10 up on his lap time. Decent start, decent stuff. And we kind of go back to qualifying almost. As a P17, it will be for Smoke at the minute with his penalty, but could it be fastest lap as well? I don't think it was. It was the sole retirement on the second to last lap. SLR Rando. Well,
Yep.
what a race that was. It was rather well. I guess it was a ball fest at times, but it was just interesting to see. It was very interesting, just perhaps seeing if people could make a move, and there wasn't too many moves at the end of it. This is normally what we expect from Spain, not so much what we've seen in the other races so far. But I'm sure it was a good race for most people all over the place.
Yeah. I think that really the key event of that race has to be Freeman losing it and losing his 3 positions from the
Definitely.
lead down to P4, and perhaps that spawned a battle for the lead later on in the race between Freeman and Hoop. They look to be having reasonable pace relative to each other. But yes, Flembog did take the fastest lap and the all-time lap record for this track. As Smoke got less than half-tenth away. So yeah, I'll get the podium finishers of Hoop, Jam, and Ham into the party. Do you want to do the interviews maybe the way me and Southerner did it is, so I'll take third and first and you take second, is that?
Yep, that sounds good with me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, that is it for the Elite Division's Spanish Grand Prix, and as you can see, Hoopalicious was the man who took the victory from Jam and Ham, completing the podium. Freeman just missing out on what was a very close 4-way battle throughout, really, and it was really good, really interesting race, just seeing how things would work out. But there we go, that is your final results. As you can see, I went down to the bottom so you can see, of course, one sole retirement, as we were saying, as debutant of SLR Rando, as we just wait for the podium sitters to come into the party. Looking down, there's some decent points there. I think both the AlphaTauri's just about managed to get points in the end. I think I remember Crispy just about managing to get the points on Kevin, just about overtaking him right at the end. Of course, Kevin getting the final points, which will probably keep him comfortably in the sort of position he's in. But Race Roller with a very good race as well. Looks like Driver of the Day. Let's get a couple more votes in, please, because I think we've only had a couple so far. But yeah, have we interviewed Sam?
Yeah, we'll start off with the P3 driver of was. Sorry, a little brain fart of who actually got P3. Yep, Ham. Of course, starting on pole position. Couldn't quite convert that to a pole, but you're back on the podium again. Are you happy with that result, or do you feel there was a bit more in there for you today?
No, I'm happy with the result, to be honest. I wouldn't have been pole, so I think I was a bit fortunate in that sense. I was a bit disappointed with my start, because normally I'm not one to lose place off the start, but I had a bit of a stinker there. Maybe it's because I did 2 laps in Q2 when again I didn't need to, because I did that the other week as well in another league. So yeah, a bit of a mistake on my part, but then I felt my pace was all right. Probably not as quick as like Hoop and Freeman, but it was quick enough to stick with them. And then just after the pit stops, kind of used all my battery really, trying to stick with, because I knew they'd try and pull away. And then yeah, James got me and gave Hoop a good run for his money in the final few laps there. But no, I'll take the P3. I mean, first podium since Australia, so I guess things are going to get better from here, really.
Yep, I guess. Really, like someone, I guess, like you've probably not had the ideal start to the season that you'd hoped for, but how are the next few tracks for you? Hoping to continue this to another few podiums in the next few races, and get back up there more often.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pace and the competition's really stepped it up since this time last season and even since the start of this one. But I mean, the next few tracks coming up are some of my better ones. So I'd like to think that I can at least make a trip to the podium once or twice in the next handful of rounds, definitely.
Yeah, well, congratulations on your P3. Now over to Owen for
Cheers, guys.
Jam Ham.
Yeah, Jam. I mean, it's
P2 spot.
Very Oh. So yeah, Jam, very sure you'll be happy with that. P2, P3 in quali, very solid from yourself, and it continues a streak of now 6 races in the top 5 in a row, and all 6 so far. So I'm sure you'll be very happy with that. Again, 3rd podium, and yeah, I mean you were very solid the whole race, and you were just catching up to Hooper at the end, but you just put him under a bit of pressure, but it wasn't to be in the end. How do you feel your race went? Oh, you see that actually just left the party. So there you go. He's just joined back. Hello.
No, what's going on? Everyone disconnected.
Not again.
The party's just gone kaput.
Oh, great. Yeah, it was fine during the race, and as soon as once everyone's joined in, it's all gone mental again. Did you get anything of what I said, or should just
no,
say,
sorry,
just
not
walk us
really,
through
mate.
your race?
Yeah. All right. Struggling to remember it all. Start was pretty poor, to be honest. I was pretty disappointed because I'd been getting good starts recently, and then yeah, I don't know. I think I just over 40 a bit because I was high. It was a struggle to keep up with the 3 in front. So yeah, I knew the overcut was good around here as well, so I went for that. I'd managed to save up a nice amount of battery to try that, and yeah, unfortunately didn't quite get Harry with that. But then yeah, kept it clean through the traffic, which is always a bit of a challenge. And then yeah, made a move on Harry because I felt like I had a bit more pace in the locker, and unfortunately just a bit too far back from Hoop when I got past, because otherwise I think I might have just snuck in, although from the looks of his last lap he might have been just saving a bit in the tank anyway. But no, really happy with P2, to be honest, because I wasn't expecting to have a great race around here. I was really strong in the week, just yeah, just more points on the board, another podium, so very happy with that.
Yeah, well done on that, and then yeah, we can move on to Monaco next week. So how are you feeling about that? Of course, P2 there you got last season, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you reckon you can perhaps bump it up for a win next week in Monaco, or how do you find it?
I think that'll be a bit of a challenge. Bit of practice that I've done. I can beat the pole time from last year, but that's about it. From the looks of what Hoop's been doing, going to maybe just no. Yeah, podium maybe at Monaco, top 5. I'm kind of expecting, to be honest, just judging off how it went last season. But yeah, just more solid points on the board and hopefully keep the pressure on near the top of the championship.
Yeah, well, that is P3 sorted for at least this week for yourself after you're kind of outscoring everyone behind you. So yeah, feel free to take away, and well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Jam, sorry, apologies.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, and I guess moving on now to the victor, back on the top step of the podium for the first time since I believe it was Vietnam was your last win, and regaining the championship lead. Well, it didn't look like the easiest victories, but how was that race from your perspective, Hoop?
It was a pretty good one. At the start, I think I was just trying to save my battery behind Freeman. I got a pretty good start actually on him. I was surprised about that because I did a lot of laps on my mediums in the qualifying, and I even spun on them. So I was quite surprised about that. And then I made a mistake on lap 3 or 4 or something like that, and Freeman got past. He was pretty quick, but then I tried to stick behind him to save some battery. And he did pretty well to keep the lead until after the pit stops. He made a mistake, and gave me P1 there. And just after that, I had a gap to him, and I knew I had to push just to get the outside the 1 second range. And yeah, it was simple from there.
Yeah. Do you feel like you feel like you maybe had a bit more pace in the locker towards the end of the race, or were you kind of just controlling it?
Actually, yeah, because I got 2 warnings near the end of the race, so I try to bring down the pace a little bit, try not to get a warning. So Then the last lap I saved a bit of battery, so I didn't really take it cautious on the last lap, but whatever.
And of course, yeah, as I said, back on the top step of the podium since Vietnam. Would you say that's a bit of a relief for you, kind of ending your bad rut in this league of the last few races? Maybe not quite the last couple. Well, actually, the last couple actually not quite going your way in terms of the final result you would have wanted. I guess talk us through getting on the top step again.
Yeah, it feels good to not have too much bad luck again. Because, yeah, so far my last few races haven't been too great for me, but it's nice to bounce back.
And moving on, how's Monaco for you? I think in some practice when looking for setups of the top guys in the world, I saw you're rather quick around there. So hoping for another. So how do you think that one could go for you? For the next couple of races.
Been in the wall. Oh, acting up. Wait, can you hear me?
Oh, am I breaking? Oh, am I breaking up?
Yeah.
I guess we'll probably just wrap it up from here then. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, congratulations on your victory, of course, Hoop. And yep, over to Owen for rounding out the rest of the years.
Right. Thanks.
Well, another great race, another really tight fought race between the top four, really more than anyone, and it was close from all of them. And I'm sure they put a good show on for you guys. And congratulations to the guys that made the top three, especially Hoop, your winner. As you can see, I'll put his car up on the screen for you. And yeah, next week in Monaco, but of course we stop off at the realistic division, where I believe we go to China on Wednesday, which will be streamed, of course, alongside the side pod as per normal. And yeah, the weekend will continue from there on in with F2, and then Div 1, Div 2, Div 3, followed off by Elite right at the end this time next week. So we'll see you then. It's been myself, Owenhow36, and thank you again for the wonderful Sem for helping me out again today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you all, and good night.